The respiratory system is responsible for obtaining oxygen and getting rid of carbon dioxide and aiding in speech production and in sensing odors. The conducting zone of the respiratory system includes the organs and structures not directly involved in gas exchange. Gas exchange occurs in the respiratory zone. The conducting zone consists of all the structures that provide passageways for air to travel into and out of the lungs, the nasal cavity, pharynx, trachea, bronchi, and most bronchioles. The lining of the conducting zone is composed of ciliated and goblet cells. The mucus traps pathogens and debris, while cilia move the mucus towards the throat. The nasal passages contain the conchi and meatuses that expand the surface area of the cavity, which help to warm and humidify incoming air while removing debris and pathogens. The pharynx is composed of the nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. These allow for the movement of air from the nose and mouth to the larynx in the process of breathing. The larynx is a structure made of cartilage that is inferior to the laryngopharynx and connects the pharynx to the trachea and helps regulate the volume of air that enters and leaves the lungs. The trachea extends from the larynx towards the lungs. The fibroelastic membrane allows the trachea to stretch and expand slightly during inhalation and exhalation, whereas the rings of cartilage provide structural support and prevent the trachea from collapsing. The trachea branches into the right and left primary bronchi. The bronchi continue to branch into a bronchial tree. They provide a passageway for air to move in and out of each lung. The respiratory zone begins where the terminal bronchioles join a respiratory bronchiole, the smallest type of bronchiole, which then leads to an alveolar duct opening into a cluster of alveoli. An alveolar duct is a tube composed of smooth muscle and connective tissue which opens into a cluster of alveoli. An alveolar sac is a cluster of many individual alveoli that are responsible for gas exchange by diffusion. Lungless salamanders are dependent largely on cutaneous respiration. Since they lack lungs, all plethodontids breathe through their skin and mucous membrane in the mouth and throat. These surfaces must remain moist at all times in order to absorb oxygen. Lungless salamanders can live in terrestrial or freshwater environments. They have neither lungs nor gills as adults. Lunglessness has allowed for the evolution of their prey capture mechanisms. The adaptation of lunglessness is especially favorable in an aquatic region with cool, swift, oxygen-rich currents. Capillaries for respiration in humans are closer to the surface of the alveoli, while in lungless salamanders are close to the surface of the skin. Lungless salamanders have moist skin while we have dry skin. A unique feature to humans are the ciliated cells that line the respiratory passages. Lunglessness is unique to the lungless salamanders. Diseases of the respiratory system fall into two categories: viruses and chronic diseases. COPD is the intersection of chronic bronchitis, chronic asthma, and emphysema. Asthma is a chronic inflammation of the lung airways that causes coughing, wheezing, chest tightness, or shortness of breath. These signs and symptoms may be worse when a person is exposed to their triggers. The laboratory used non-germinated and germinated seeds to obtain the rate of respiration which most closely relate to the respiratory system.